Welcome everyone for today's Science of Self-Realization reading continuation. We are continuing from chapter 6. We are at the discussion with Professor Kotowski and Srila Prabhupada. I think we had stopped here. Dehinosim yata dehe kaumaram yauvanam jara. Yeah, we discussed some scientific proofs of the 2.13 verse. Okay, so I need volunteer to read what Professor Kotowski is saying and what Srila Prabhupada is saying. Two volunteers, please. Someone read Professor Kotowski and someone read Srila Prabhupada. Yes, anyone? Can you hear me?
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Yeah, okay. You want someone want to read what Professor Kotowski is reading? Is he saying
Yes, Prabhu, I'll read Prabhu.
okay? And Srila Prabhupada?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Okay, fine.
I will read Prabhuji.
So just let me read this one paragraph and then we will start. In the Bhagavad Gita 2.13, it is said, Dehino simyata dehe kaumaram yauvanam jara tata dehantar prapti dhiras tatrana mohite. Dehina means one who owns this body. The Dehi, the owner of the body, is within and the body is changing from one to another. Child has a certain type of body that changes to another type and when he is older, but the owner of the body still exists throughout. And similarly, when this body is completely changed, we accept another body. People do not understand this, and we are accepting different bodies even in this life, from babyhood to childhood to boyhood to youth. That is a fact. Everyone knows it. I was a child, but that childhood body is no more. I have a different body now. What is the difficulty in understanding that when this body is no more, then I will have to accept another body? It is a great science. So we keep changing bodies, and the soul within the body is the real owner, the real self. Okay. So Professor Kotowski, please start as you know.
Yes, Prabhu. As you know, there are two quite opposite approaches to this problem. The approach is slightly different according to different religions, but at the same time, any religion recognizes and searches for the change of place experience or transmigration of spirit. In Christian religion, in Judaism, in yes, Prabhu.
Srila
Hare Krishna.
Prabhupada.
Yes, Prabhu. I'm not talking religions with you. I'm talking science and philosophy. One religion may accept one way. That is not our concern. We are concerned with the point that if the owner of the body is permanent in spite of different changes of body, there should be no difficulty in understanding that when this body changes entirely, the owner of the body will have another body.
Go on.
Another approach is that there is no separation. There are two phenomena. The body and the owner of the body are the same.
No,
When the body dies, the owner also dies.
no. But why there is no department of knowledge in the university or to study this fact scientifically? That is my proposition. They are lacking. It may be as you say, or it may be as I say, but there must be a department of knowledge to study this. Recently, a cardiologist in Toronto, a doctor, has accepted that there is a soul. I had some correspondence with him, and he strongly believes that there is a soul. So, there is another point of view. But our process is to accept knowledge from authority. We have Krishna's statement on this subject, and he is authoritative. Authoritative. Krishna is accepted as the authority by all the acharyas. The Bhagavad Gita is accepted by scholarly and philosophical circles all over the world. Krishna says, Dehinosmin yata dehe kaumaram yavaram jara tata dehantara praptir dhiras tatrana muhyati. Just as the soul gives up the childhood body and comes to the boyhood body and then to youth, the soul also gives up this body and accepts another body. Bhagavad Gita Shloka, chapter 2:30. This statement is given by Krishna, the greatest authority according to our tradition of knowledge. We accept such a statement without argument. That is the way of Vedic understanding.
The difficulty is that our approach is that we do not believe in anything without argument. We can believe only things based on argument.
Yes, that is allowed. That is stated in the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 4, shloka 34. Tad vidhi pranipatina pariprashnena sevaya pariprashnena. Argument is allowed, but not in the challenging spirit, but rather with the with the spirit to understand. Argument is not denied, but as far as Vedic statements are concerned, they are infallible, and the scholars of the Vedas accept them in that way. For example, cow dung is the stool of an animal. Now, the Vedic statement is that as soon as you touch the stool of any animal, even if you touch your own stool, you are impure and have to purify yourself by taking a bath. According to the Hindu system, after evacuating, one has to take a bath.
Just stop. Just stop. So, one of the point Kotowski is saying that we need to argue and then come to the truth. And Prabhupada says, yes, it is in Bhagavad Gita 4.34, where Krishna says that you should learn it from those who have seen the truth, and you should ask questions to them. And there is argument. But Prabhupada said that argument is not in a challenging spirit, but rather with a spirit to understand. I will give you an example in the Bhagavad Gita itself, where Arjuna wanted to understand something, and he very interestingly speaks in the very fourth chapter. Yeah. So in the very fourth chapter, Krishna says, I instructed this imperishable science to sun god, and sun god instructed to Manu to Ikshvaku. That very ancient relationship with the Supreme is told today to by me to you, because you are my devotee as well as friend, and can therefore understand the transcendental mystery of the science. Now, if somebody reads these first three shlokas of chapter 4, the very question comes, basic question comes, sun god. Sun is the first planet in the earth, or let's say it is very oldest planet, even through science, even to the Vedic literature. Now, Krishna here is in Dwapar Yuga, and he's saying, I said this to sun god. Meaning, it's like, I talked with my great grandfather, or I talked 500 years ago. So one may question, how is it that you just took birth now and you're telling you talked 500 years ago? Krishna is not even just saying 500, he's saying sun god, meaning when sun was appeared, meaning it goes back millions of years, maybe billions of years. So natural question is, how is it possible? Now the same question Arjuna asked, and this is how he says. In, this is the way he is now going to ask the question and clarify. Aparam bhavato janma param janma vivasvataha katham itad vijaniyam tvam ado proktava iti. Tam ado proktavan iti. Now see how Arjuna is speaking. He's saying the sun god is senior by birth to you, O Krishna. How am I to understand that in the beginning you instructed this science to him? And you see the question, the way he's asking, how am I to understand? That is in the beginning. Now, if someone who wants to challenge Krishna, what would be his question and how he would put it? Any answers? Yeah. You would say, are you joking? Are you are you telling me lie that you talked with sun god? It's a challenge, right? If your friend says, I talked with your great 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 grandfather, you'll say, are you joking? My great great grandfather was in the 18th century and he's no more. And you talk to him and you were just taking birth with me, we are almost the same age. Are you joking? Now, instead of asking this way, see the way Arjun is asking. How am I to understand that in the beginning you instructed this science to me? Basically, is asking in a very soft way. The same question is asking. I'm not able to understand this. Can you please explain it to me? Now, this is the beauty of culture, respect. That you want to argue, but you argue in such a way that it has respect in it, it has humility in it, and it has genuine concern to it. It is not out of anger or rudeness. You're getting this point? Are you understanding um, this subtle, this what to say, a very fine culture in the Vedic times, the way they argue, the way they ask questions? Any questions on this? First of all, does this make sense to you?
Yes, Prabhuji. This is
Yeah,
a very humble way of asking question. It's making complete sense.
yeah. So this is what the verse pariprashnena means. Pariprashnena means, oh, definitely there is prashna. Pariprashnena, you are going to ask to the spiritual master, but not in a challenging spirit, but in a spirit to understand. The spiritual master should not think, oh, he's just asking for challenging. Sometimes, if you remember our school days, one of the student would stand up and just challenge the teacher, right? And then everyone used to feel, oh, he's talking very rudely. Anyone went through that experience? No one?
No, Prabhuji.
Okay, okay, okay. They were good students in your class. Or in the college. Anyone had that experience that a student very rudely talked with the teacher?
Prabhuji, I had this experience couple of times
Hmm.
in my own college, in school also, and when I became a lecturer in a college,
Oh, okay.
students were also like that. But
Ha.
then once I clarified the doubts, the students became very respectful and
Okay,
they
okay,
kept in touch.
okay.
Yeah, but such students are actually curious students. We have to take it positively and guide them well.
Hmm. Yeah, but we can see, how Arjuna as a student, he says, "How am I to understand in the beginning?" He doesn't challenge Krishna and say, "You're telling lies, you're joking with me." He doesn't say like that. He says, "How am I to understand that in the beginning?" And like this, there are many many other examples. But for the time being, let's continue. That is quite understandable hygienic knowledge. Yes, that is right. So, Srila Prabhupada, but in another place. Read. Continue.
Yes, Prabhuji. But in another place, it is stated that cow dung, although the stool of an animal is pure, even if you apply it to an impure place, that place becomes purified. This is superficially contradictory. In one place, it is said that the stool of an animal is impure, and as soon as you touch it, you have to be purified. And in another place, it says that cow dung is pure. According to our knowledge, it is contradictory, but still it is accepted by those who are followers of the Vedas. And the fact is that if you analyze cow dung, you will find that it contains all antiseptic properties.
This I don't know.
Yes, one professor in a medical college analyzed it and he found it full of antiseptic properties. So, Vedic statements, even if found contradictory, if analyzed scrutinizingly, will prove correct. There may be an exception, but it is accepted. And when scientifically analyzed and examined, it is found to be correct.
Yes, if you analyze from the scientific point of view, that is right.
There are other instances. For example, the conch shell. The conch shell is the bone of an animal, and according to Vedic instruction, if you touch the bone of an animal, you become impure and have to take bath. But this conch shell is kept in the deity room because it is accepted as pure by the Vedas. My point is that we accept Vedic laws without argument. That is the principle followed by scholars. If you can substantiate your statements by quotations from the Vedas, then they are accepted. You are not required to substantiate them in other ways. There are different kinds of pramanas or evidences. Proof by Vedic quotation is called Shruti Pramana. As in the legal court, if you can give statements from the law book, your statement is accepted. So, all statements you give, if you supported, um, if supported by Shruti Pramanas, are accepted by scholars. I think you know the Vedas are known as Shrutis.
Just stop. So, example is given of the conch shell and the cow dung. So, the cow dung is the excrete of cows, but it has antiseptic properties, and the Vedas say that if you touch it, it is purifying. Whereas a dung, whereas the excreta of human being or any other animal is impure. If you touch it, you have to take bath, you have to clean yourself. Similarly, conch shell is actually the bone of an animal. Something comes out of the body of the animal and it forms around that animal, okay. And so that is, in a way, it's impure. But but the Vedas say that if you can keep it in the conch shell, in the deity room, which is the cleanest place, and you can use it to bathe the deities, you can use it to, sound the conch shell, and these are accepted truths. And if we scientifically look at it, also through modern science, we will find evidences. So I want to ask you one question. Apart from conch shell and the cow dung, give me example. If I can I keep a stone in the DT room? Is that accepted?
Like Prabhuji is Saligrama Shila. Like Prabhuji.
Yeah. Shaligram Shila is another thing that the Vedas say that can be kept in the DT room. Indeed, it is a DT. It is non-different than Krishna. And one more stone, which comes from Vrindavan, that also can be worshipped.
Govardhan Shila.
Yes, Govardhan Shila. And then a feather. Which feather is allowed in the DT room?
Peacock feather.
Peacock feather. And which tail is allowed in the DT room?
Prabhuji, couldn't
Tail,
hear.
tail, tail. Hair of an animal. Which hair of an animal is allowed in the DT room?
Yeah,
Elephant.
yeah, okay, right, Prabhuji.
Elephant.
Actually, it is the hair of the yak
Yeah,
cow, from the Himalayas. The white thing. What is it called? Chamara, or what's it called? It's called chamara, right?
Samara.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that white thing is actually a hair of the yak cow from the Himalayas, and that is used to fan. And yak fan produces hot and warm air, and peacock fan produces cold air. If you try an experiment, you will feel that yak will produce, when you shake it, you keep your hand and it will be warm, but if you use the peacock, it will be cold. So basically, you're offering hot and cold towards to the Lord. Okay. So yeah, continue. Srila Prabhupada. Shruti Smriti Puranadi.
Yes, Prabhuji. Shruti Smriti Puranadi Pancharatra Vidin Vina I Aikantiki Harer Bhaktir Upata Yaiva Kalpate Brahma Yamala. Any system we accept must be supported by evidences of Shruti, Smriti, the Puranas, and the Pancharatra. That is, that which is not proved by these pramanas is a disturbance.
Could I, could I just say one thing? What is in the Vedas could also have been proved in a scientific way. Today, suppose there is a scientific laboratory. What is said by that lab is true. That it is true, you accept without going into the pro- propriety of it. Suppose you have a scientific workshop or institution. If this workshop or scientific institution says this is not good, the general body will take it for granted. Yes, the scientific body has said so. So it is understood.
So basically, he's asking from the Vedic point of view, what is the scientific way, what is the authoritative way of saying, what is to be followed, what is not to be followed. And Srila Prabhupada answered it in the previous verse when he said this thing. He said that all evidences are mentioned in Shruti, Smriti, Puranas, and Pancharatra. So whatever we may be doing should be supported by one of or the multiple of these four things, of these four texts basically: Shruti, Smriti, Purana, and Pancharatra. And Prabhupada now talks about Vedic authoritative by Acharyas. Go ahead.
Similarly, Vedic authoritative statements are accepted by the Acharyas, great teachers. India is governed by the Acharyas, Ramanujacharya, Madhvacharya, Shankaracharya. They accept the Vedas and their followers accept them. The benefit is that I do not waste my time to research whether cow dung is pure or impure. Rather, because it is stated in the Vedas to be pure, I accept it. I save my time by accepting the Shruti Pramana. In that way, there are different statements in the Vedas for sociology and politics or anything. For Veda means knowledge. Sarvasya chaham hridi sannivishto matta smritir jnanam apohanam cha vedaischa sarvair ahamiva vedyo vedantakrid veda videva chaham.
So,
Bhagavad Gita
yeah, Bhagavad Gita 15.15. So,
15.
here Prabhupada is saying that if a great teacher is speaking, which are called Acharyas, they have done the research into the Vedas and we accept, whatever they also say because of their integrity and truthfulness and their purity. We accept these Acharyas. And if they say, we follow. We don't have to go and again research into it. Can you tell me whether this same way of thinking is in the modern science and how it is? How is it that modern science also follows the same principle? Is there a Shruti Pramana in the modern science? We have a teacher in the group. So, do you think is a similar way is followed in the modern science?
Prabhuji, can you repeat your question in the context? My son was disturbing me. I got up.
Oh, okay, okay. Okay, so what Prabhupada is saying that there is Vedic authoritative statements accepted by the Acharyas. And then if the Acharyas, they do the research. And if they tell us what it is, what is there in the Vedas, what is to be followed, this, that. Hmm? So we don't have to separately go and research in the Vedas. We accept these Acharyas. They give us the Shruti Praman. So do is there something similar done in the modern science?
In modern science, researchers they research and they give some inferences, but it's not permanent, it's changing.
The changing
Uh,
is fine,
uh,
but what Einstein said, people quote him even today, right? we
yeah,
don't
yeah,
we
yeah.
don't go and go back and see, oh, is definitely E is equal to mc square, or thermodynamics equations and so many formulas and chemistry formulas. We don't go and research it. We learn it from the teachers, and the teachers have learned it from the great teachers like that. So
Yes,
even
yes,
in the
yes.
modern science, similar thing happens.
Yeah,
Hmm?
yes,
So
true.
so the same thing is already there in the Vedas, and that's how the Vedic knowledge was passed down. But what happened is, especially the Britishers came and they said that whatever you are learning is all mythology, it's all waste. And they said that if you learn English and our subjects, we will pay you and give you a job, that you're so much struggling, you can't even get money to eat and to live properly. So they exploited that situation. And they said that all of you, whatever you're learning, this logic, reasoning, and all that Vedanta, astrology, etc., etc., Ayurveda, is all false mythology. They started saying. So it's our unfortunateness that we have to learn this modern science where already Vedic literature is already there. Okay, continue. May I put one question to you?
May I put one question to you? Have you many have you many branches of your society in the world?
Yes,
Where is your main center? And where are the branches of the Krishna Conscious Society?
of course, I have over 65 branches.
65 branches?
Yes, and I have made my main center in Los Angeles, and now we are establishing an important center in Mayapur, the birthplace of Lord Chaitanya. Have you been to India?
6 or 7 times. Now there is a very difficult situation in Calcutta because of the influx of refugees from Bangladesh.
Yes, but we had our Sankirtana there for 10 days and it was very wonderful. The gathering was not less than 30,000 people daily. They were much interested in hearing our lectures since we lecture from the Srimad Bhagavatam and the Bhagavad Gita. So, people are responding from every part of the world, especially the American boys and girls. They are especially interested in England and also Germany and France. From here, I plan to go to Paris. What is the name of that place? In Paris? Oh, of Fontenay, Aux Roses. Srila Prabhupada. Yes, they have taken a whole house, a nice house. So our process is very simple. We ask our students to observe four prohibitive principles: no illicit sex life, no eating of meat, fish, or eggs, no gambling, and no intoxication, including cigarettes, tea, and coffee. One has to obey these four principles and chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. And you will find how, by this process only, these boys and girls are quickly improving. The process is very simple. Besides that, we have books, volumes of books, the Srimad Bhagavatam, the Bhagavad Gita, the Bhagavad Gita. Throughout all these years, I have written about 1 dozen 400-page books. Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, in two parts. The Srimad Bhagavatam in 6 parts, teachings of Lord Chaitanya in one part, the nectar of devotion in one part. So we are trying to spread this Krishna consciousness. Krishna is a historical personality as much as Lenin is a historical personality. Just as you are trying to understand his philosophy, we are trying to understand Krishna's philosophy.
Are there many participants in your 65 branches?
Oh, yes, more than 1,000 initiated, and outside there are many. The 1,000 have accepted the principles, just like these boys. Srila Prabhupada points to his two secretaries.
But does that mean that these students abstain from normal Western European universities? For instance, can a normal student from one of the various universities who is attending lectures in the normal way also be initiated and admitted to your community?
If you want to live in our community and be initiated, we welcome you. If not, come try to understand our philosophy, read our books. There are so many books, magazines, questions, and answers. Try to understand the philosophy. It is not that all of a sudden a student comes and becomes our disciple. He first of all comes, associates, and tries to understand. We do not canvas. He voluntarily says that he wants to be a disciple.
So Prabhupada is mentioning, ours is a voluntary organization. So those who have joined, we are voluntarily doing all this. Nothing forcing. There's nothing like solicit votes. It is voluntary. Okay. Go ahead, Professor Kadaski.
What happens if, for instance, one is not a student but a young worker or the young son of a farmer? Would he renounce his whole life and join your community in a given center? How would he maintain himself in his day to day life, in material life?
As I told you, this propaganda is meant for creating Brahmanas all over the world because the Brahmana element is lacking. One who seriously comes to us has to become a Brahmana, so he should adopt the occupation of a Brahmana and give up the occupation of a Kshatriya or Shudra. But if one wants to keep his profession and also at the same time understand our movement, that is allowed. We have many professors following our movement. There is Howard Wheeler, a professor at Ohio State University. He is my disciple. He is continuing with his professorship, but almost all the money he is getting, he is spending for this Krishna consciousness. Grihasthas, those who are in householder life outside, are expected to contribute 50% of their income of our society. Keep 25% for family and keep 25% for personal emergencies. But Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu teaches that it does not matter whether one is Grihastha or in the renounced order, or a Brahmana or a Shudra. Lord Chaitanya says, anyone who understands the science of Krishna becomes my spiritual master. The actual words in Bengali are Kiba Vipra, Kiba Nyasi, Shudra Kene Naya. Do you understand a little Bengali?
A little.
Yes, as a vibration. Ye Krishna Tattva Veta, say Guru Haya. Anyone who understands the science of Krishna can become a spiritual master. Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Leela 8.128.
But by creating Brahmanas from different social classes of society, you deny the old prescription of the Hindu scriptures.
No, I establish it.
According to all scriptures, the Puranas, etc., every member of one of these four classes of Varnas has to be born within it.
No, 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 no.
That is the foundation of all the Varnas.
No, no, I'm sorry.
The foundation of all the Varnas.
You have spoken incorrectly. With great respect, I beg to submit that you are not speaking correctly. In the Bhagavad Gita chapter 4.13, it is stated, Chatur Varnam Maya Srishtam Guna Karma Vibhagashaha. These four orders of Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishyas, and Shudras are created by me according to quality and work. There is no mention of birth.
Just hold on. So definitely this is a point of contention is there that 4.13. Okay, that there is an understanding that that the son of a brahmana is a brahmana, and Prabhupada says no, it is not like that, and he points out to this 4.13 verse where Krishna says that according to the three modes of material nature and the work associated with them, the four divisions of human society are created by me. Although I am the creator of this system, you should know I am yet the non-doer being unchangeable. So there is no mention of birth here. But what is mentioned is the three modes of material nature and the work associated. So if I ask you this question, where does this three modes of material nature enter? When does this happen? When does it enter into the nature of the human body? When does the three modes enter?
Prabhuji, the three modes are basic in this material world. When we enter this material world and try to attach the soul to a material body, then that time only the three modes of material nature comes.
Yeah. So the moment we get this material body, which is of two things, the gross body and the subtle body. The gross body is our, blood, bones, skin. This is the gross body. Then the subtle body is the mind and the intelligence and the identification, the false identification the soul is having. So these are the three modes, that they, when the soul uh, takes this body around it, these three modes in varying quantities are already present in these two bodies, subtle body and gross body. So at the time of birth, these three modes come into picture, and they influence the soul, they influence the person in work he may like, his likes, dislikes, his way of thinking, his way of walking, talking, etc. Okay, so these three modes they influence him, and then the material world itself has three modes in it. How the world has three modes in it? If I ask you this question, give me an example. Well, the material world itself has three modes in it. So the body has three modes in it. It is influencing the person, and the outside environment also has three modes in it. How come? How does a sky has three modes in it? How come time has three modes in it? How come water has three modes in it? How come earth has three modes in it? How come food has three modes in it? Give me some example. How come music has three modes in it? How come everything in this world has three modes in it? Animals have three modes in it. All the three modes are there. And give me examples. How do you identify which mode is going on? Right now it is evening time. Okay, it will be turning into night. It's almost night only. So which mode is going on? Which mode this night is influencing on us?
Tamas.
Ignorance, Prabhuji.
Tamas, which in English is
Ignorance.
ignorance. And what it will influence us basically?
It makes us lazy and
Sleepy.
procrastinate, sleepy. Yeah.
Yeah. So the time has three modes in it. In the morning, it has mode of goodness, and as it goes beyond 10 o'clock, it has mode of passion. You cannot be calm. You need to be working somewhere. You need to do something, right? So mode of passion is there, and evening time is there. So time has that. Now music. How come music has three modes in it? Can you think of music which has three modes in it? Which is music in goodness? Which is
Is
music
Kirtan, and which is we sing for the Lord, or
classical?
classical, yeah.
Okay. Which is music in passion? Bollywood music. Which is music in ignorance? Hip hop music, metal music, heavy metal music. This is music, if you see, the army, when the army marches, they also play music. Now that music is basically like, dun, 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 like that. So it is basically creating a passionate environment, and then it needs needed, right? But that same music in a classical is not like that. It is slowly it is going like that. Huh? Okay, food. Three modes of food. Which food is in mode of goodness? Which food is in mode of passion? Which food is in mode of ignorance?
A juicy food, light, less spicy is goodness. Mode
Milk,
of
milk and
milk.
grains, milk,
Yeah.
grains, vegetables. Passion, spicy,
Spicy,
hot,
tangent, hot.
tangy. Just name few, na. That will be better to know.
Onion, garlic, and such things.
That's fine. Onion garlic is a different category itself. What in without onion garlic, but still it is passionate. Name a few.
Fried,
Biryani? Biryani?
right. The fried, like
Okay, okay. Some
spicy.
extent, yes, yes. The biryani, very a lot of garam masala in it. Yes, definitely. How about pani puri?
Yeah, pani puri.
Don't forget this. Okay, food in mode of ignorance.
Non-veg,
Non-veg.
meat.
Okay, good, good. Okay, now food which was in mode of goodness but turned into mode of ignorance. Can you give an example?
Vegetables soaked in vinegar.
Okay, better than that.
Steamed food. Steamed
Sauces.
food.
The sauces which have vinegar in it and
Okay, okay, okay.
Steam
Now,
food keda?
alcohol and
how,
wine.
how is alcohol
Wine.
made? How is
That
alcohol made?
grape is soaked in vinegar
So
again.
grape
Grapes.
is in mode of goodness,
Yeah.
but it is been fermented, kept in a dark cell in a dark bottle for months and sometimes years, and it turns into alcohol. And they sell that bottle for 1 lakhs and 5 lakhs. I stay in Whitefield, and there's a big alcohol shop, and it's a very it looks very posh. And there, each bottle may cost like 1 lakh and 2 lakh. And what it is, simply a grape water which got fermented for years and became into mode of ignorance. So this is how our external environment they influence us. If we consume these things through our senses, like our mouth, eyes and ears, through our senses, then they will overpower us, and we will act in that particular mode of goodness, mode of passion, mode of ignorance. Okay. And when our body is forcing us, our body forces us into into the modes that we already have. Hmm? The children, they are mostly in mode of passion. So even in the morning they want to play. They cannot sit still even in the morning, right? We tell them do yoga, meditation. No, 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 they just want to go run here and there and play, do some masti, right? Because the body is pushing them, even though the time is good, but the body is pushing them. So yeah, it takes a lot of work to control the body, and we have to do it through this yoga, meditation and spiritual activities, and over a period of time these modes come into control. And even in mode of ignorance we can have mode of goodness. Just like Haridas Thakur, he used to chant 192 rounds, almost 20 hours he used to chant. And the three modes don't even affect him. Whether it is night, midnight, early morning, doesn't affect him at all. Hmm. So he had overpowered the three modes. Now the easiest way to overpower the three modes is Bhakti Yoga, which is when you read 14th chapter. I think you all are reading 13th, I think. But in the 14th chapter, Krishna says transcend. Okay, transcend. Huh. 26th verse, he will say this thing. Myam choyo vyabicharena bhakti yogena sevate sagunan samatietan brahma bhuyaya kalpate. So one follows bhakti yoga, then he will transcend the three modes. So the process of bhakti yoga, when we do and when we are practicing, the three modes will affect us, and when we have perfected it, the three modes won't affect us. Okay, so coming back to our discussion, the three modes at the time they are given as our birth. Okay, so technically by birth they are given, but it's not like, oh, because you are in the family therefore you are a brahmana. No. Now what is the general tendency? A son of a brahmana, what the brahmana will do to its son. A son of a kshatriya, what the kshatriya will do to its son. A son of a vaishya, what is the natural tendency that they will do? Like we are engineers, doctors, lawyers, and we have a son or daughter. What we are going to tend to train the children into? We will train them in the same profession that we are in, right? Agreed? Most of the time it will do like that only. We are engineers, therefore my son will also be an engineer. I am a doctor, so my son also I will try to put him in doctor, right? Don't we see this phenomenon?
Yes, correctly. Yeah.
Yeah, so therefore even in the Vedic times it would be like that the brahmana would train his son to be a brahmana, and because he's born in a brahmana family with a brahmanical consciousness, he would have brahmanical qualities naturally, and that would work, and then the son would become a brahmana. But now what happens is you have to first find out whether your son or daughter has that quality or not. So in the Vedic times, they used to be sending to the Gurukul, and the Gurukul teacher would figure out, okay, what is the real work and what kind of moods are affecting him, and then he used to recommend them. Hey, you are like a Brahmana, you become like a Brahmana, but you are born in a Brahmana family, but you are acting like a Kshatriya, or you are acting like a Vaishya, or you are acting like a Shudra. So in this regard, in Shrimad Bhagavatam, there is a king named Rishabdev, who is the incarnation of Krishna, and he had 100 sons. Out of 100 sons, the very first son was Bharata, whom the whole India is named after, Bharat. And he was actually king, a Kshatriya. And his other sons were also Kshatriya, and some of them were Brahmanas, sadhus, and some of them were Paramhansas. So within 100 sons also he had some who became Brahmanas, some who became Kshatriyas, some who became Vaishyas, some who became Shudras. Actually, he didn't have Vaishya and Shudra sons, but he had mostly Kshatriyas and Brahmanas. That much I remember. So, so we, so the understanding is the proper understanding is that the children that take birth, they have a certain particular mode in them, and we need to figure out that. In Vedic times, it was the guru who used to figure it out, and therefore they used to then become. But most of the time, it would happen that a son of a Brahmana would be a Brahmana only. He would have Brahmanical qualities. So now that concept became contaminated in the Kali Yuga. And in the Kali Yuga, whether my son has Brahmanical qualities or not, I don't care, but I will call him Brahmana and make him wear thread. And then he will be superior. So that is how Kali Yuga became contaminated, became um, you know, what to say, contaminated is one word. Another one is uh, okay. So anyway, it became contaminated, and that's how the concept of that one who takes birth in a Brahmana is also a Brahmana, right? So what if you go back and if you look, how it is exactly, then Krishna says that no, it's not like that. It's at the birth these three modes are given by the body, and they will by their own nature they will pick up what profession they want to pick up by the three modes. And if they do bhakti yoga, or if they are trained, then the modes can be increased in them and they can perform at that level. So you need to give training also. Without training also you cannot say, oh, they are Brahmanas. Just because they have Brahmanical um, tendencies doesn't mean that he will become a Brahmana. You have to train them also. Hmm? Like some students, they may have very good uh, analytical mathematics tendency, but they have to be trained to become an engineer. Similarly, the Brahmanas have to be trained, a Kshatriya has to be trained, a Vaishya has to be trained, a Shudra has to be trained. Okay, so let's continue. Professor Kotaski.
Yes, Prabhu. I agree with you that this is the addition of later Brahmanas who try to perpetuate these qualities.
That has killed the Indian culture. Otherwise, there would have been no necessity of the division of part of India into Pakistan. Not only that, but from the historical point of view, this whole planet was Bharatavarsha, and it was controlled by one flag up to the uh, it was controlled by one flag up to the time of Maharaj Parikshit. Then it gradually separated. This is history. Lately, they have separated Pakistan. So, Bharatavarsha is now crippled into a small piece of land. Otherwise, according to Vedic scripture, this whole planet is called Bharatavarsha. Formerly, it was named Ilavrita but since Emperor Bharata ruled this planet, it is also called Bharatavarsha. So, this culture, Krishna consciousness, was always existent. Consider any religion, Christian, Mohammedan, Jewish. They are at most 2 to 3,000 years old. But you cannot trace out the beginning of this Vedic scripture. It is therefore called Sanatana, eternal. This culture is for this whole human society. It is not of a religious faith. The religious faith you can change, but real dharma you cannot change. Try to understand Krishna. In the Bhagavad Gita 18.66, he says, Sarva dharman parityajya mamekam sharanam raja. Give up all other forms of religion and just surrender to me. That is real knowledge, to surrender to the Supreme. You or I, anyone, is surrendered to someone. That is a fact. Or our life is by surrender. Is it not? Do you agree with this point?
To some extent, you surrender.
Yes, to the full extent.
You have to you have to surrender to the society. For instance, to the whole people.
Yes, to the whole people, or to the state, or to the king, or the government, or whatever you say. This surrender must be there.
The only difficulty is that we cannot half surrender to a government or a king. The principal difference is of surrender to a king, to a person, or to the society.
No, that is only a change of color. But the principle of surrender is there. Whether you surrender to monarchy, democracy, aristocracy, or dictatorship, you have to surrender. That is a fact. Without surrender, there is no life. It is not possible. So, we are educating people to surrender to the Supreme, where from you get all protection, just as Krishna says, Sarva Dharman Parityajya Mamekam Sharanam Vraja. No one can say, no, I'm not surrendered to anyone, not a single person. The difference is where he surrenders. The ultimate surrendering object is Krishna. Therefore, in the Bhagavad Gita 7.19, Krishna says, Bahunam Janmanam Ante Jnanavan Mam Prapadyate. After surrendering to so many things, birth after birth, when one is factually wise, he surrenders unto me. Vasudeva Sarvam iti sa Mahatma Sudurlabha. Such a Mahatma is very rare.
Just hold on. So, uh, in the previous previous lines, Prabhupada said that talked about the geography of India, and he said the whole planet is a Bharata Varsha and all that, and he talked about Ilavata Varsha also. So I will send you a video which will show the Vedic cosmology. Some of you may have seen it, some of you may not have seen it. So it's a very nice video. I will share on WhatsApp. Second thing, Prabhupada is saying that we anyway surrender. We either surrender to the state or to democracy or autocracy, dictatorship. And what all things do we surrender to? Any more things that we surrender to? Meaning, basically, surrender means not the surrender like police to thief to a police. No, surrender means we submit. We cease resistance to an enemy. We submit to the authority. We listen to them. Okay, we lose to them. Where else do we do that? Any more list that you may think of where we surrender?
In the family, to the head
In
of
the
the family,
family, head of the family, or the
boss of the company.
boss of the company. Okay, mother-in-law, father-in-law, husband, wife. Do we surrender to wife? I don't see any Prabhus talking here. Only Mataji is talking. Prabhus, do you surrender to your wife? They surrender because they are not speaking. And do the parents surrender to the children? Do the parents surrender to the children?
Yes, Prabhu.
Yes, yeah, that comes a very emphatic yes. Do we surrender to our senses? Eyes, ears, tongue. Do we surrender to them? If a gulab jamun or your favorite thing
Yeah.
comes in front of you, what happens?
Before coming to KC, not totally, but after coming to KC, at least we realize and stop.
Okay, okay. You're a great soul. There are
No,
other devotees even after coming to KC.
practice, practice.
Okay, okay. Okay, good. So I remembered a very nice story which Prabhupada said, that once Alexander, he came to India, right? So he visited a cave where a sadhu was there, and the sadhu was in meditation. So Alexander tried to make him come out of the meditation, and he was not coming out of the meditation. So he got angry and he shook him and said, come out, come out, you know listen to me. And then he opened his eyes and he said, and he saw there's a kingly man, Alexander. And they had a discussion, and he said, who are you? I'm the emperor. I control everything. And he said, I am an emperor, and I control the one that controls you. So then Alexander was thinking, what he controls, what is he controlling that is controlling me? What do you think is controlling Alexander? You got the statement? The
Mind,
sadhus,
Prabhu.
huh?
Mind.
Mind, that's fine. Another thing that exact thing that uh,
Sense.
Sin.
Alexander was previously exhibiting. What is it? What did Alexander become? He became angry at the sadhu. So the sadhu said, I have controlled anger, and anger is controlling you, and you are controlling all the world, such a big, vast land. Therefore, I am greater than you. So, so even if one becomes, great and controls so many things, there is anger, lust, and greed. There are the senses, there are the mind that one surrenders to. So, so Prabhupada is saying we are surrendering anyway to all these things. We have to, when we are not surrendering to Krishna only. So if we try to surrender to Krishna, what happens? Sarva dharmam parityajya mam ekam sharanam vaja aham tanva sarva papibhyo mokshishyami masuchaha. We don't have to surrender anywhere. Krishna is the last one. Vasudeva sarvam iti sa mahatma sudurlabha. Vasudeva is sarvam, is all, is everything, and I will surrender unto him. After that, that is the ante. Ante means the end of all surrender. Once we surrender to Krishna, Krishna is the controller of all the senses. Krishna is uh, controlling all the senses, everything. Um, Yogeshwara, Rishikesha. Rishikesha means controlling all the senses. He's controlling all the mind, the intelligence. So everything comes under control when we surrender to Krishna. Okay. So we are on time. 8:33. Let's open up for one or two questions. Any one or two questions? Any one or two questions?
Prabhuji, you said that three modes enters in our body when we take birth.
Right.
So when exactly it takes, that it enters?
So the thing is, na, okay. See, we are performing karma throughout our life, right? That itself is deciding our next body.
Yes.
Yeah, this means it is deciding our subtle body,
Mm.
which is mind and intelligence,
Mm.
and actually false ego also. False ego
Right.
means identification, false identification. I'll explain more.
It is basically that I am this body, not
Yeah,
that.
but so let's say if our activity is um, let's say it's very rude, it is harsh, it is illegal, let's say it's criminal. Okay, now you tell me what kind of subtle body you will get. Think of a subtle body where how the mind will be.
Very, very restless,
Very angry,
distractive,
restless.
angry.
Yeah, so it's already deciding.
Mm.
Okay, what will be the identification? Ego.
Yeah.
Intelligence. How will be the intelligence? Cunning. How will be the ego? Ego will be identification will be I am greatest.
Yeah.
I am smartest. Like that, very what you say, proud. Okay. So our activities decide our next body. And let's say talk about gross body. What kind of gross body? These activities will decide. Strong, but what you say? And what? And because these activities are not that great, so sometimes there may be some diseases also. Diseases, deformity. Okay. These activities are like that. And what kind of parents will be decided? Thieves, right? Deceitful. So this is how it is decided. So our present karma is very, very important. What we do present. Now there is some more detail actually. There is previous karma also. They all act in deciding. So our present definitely decides the future, but our past has also decided some future, which is we are getting it, and some are kept for the next future also. So we get a lot of combination, a lot of combination, three combination of modes and a lot of things. So this is how it works behind the scene. How to break all this? Bhakti. That's it. Bhakti breaks all karma, past and present. And what it does, there is something it does more than just breaking all karma. What does it do? What is this word I'm trying to write? Starts with S, ends with D, two alphabets in between.
Seed of karma.
Yes. Seed of karma. What happens if the seed of karma is there? No fructification at all. Huh? So nothing is going to come out of it. If the seed itself is burned, like a burnt peanut. If you burn a peanut and put it into ground, will a plant come? You put it into ground and water it. Will a plant come? Yes or no?
No,
No.
Prabhuji, it did not come.
Yeah. So this is what happens. Bhakti burns out that seed. And even if we get some kind of body diseases and all that, externally it may seem, oh, we are getting fructification of karma, but actually nothing is going to happen. It will be the final thing. No. Okay. So this is how it works. Any other question?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yeah.
Prabhuji, like the son of a Brahmana will be a Brahmana as scientifically when we see the genes of the parent is also transferred to the child. So the same qualities will come is said scientifically. But then how this nature differs, Prabhuji? Either it should be from a father or a
So
mother.
so yeah.
Apart,
So for first thing is it depends on the consciousness of father and mother. Okay, if they are brahmana, but at the okay, let me finish this sentence. Of father and mother at the time of sexual intercourse. Okay, this is the condition. So if the consciousness is not prepared, then there is a tendency of not getting a child in a particular consciousness. Example is Hiranyakashipu. What son he had? What was the name of the son? What was the
Prahlad.
name of son of Hiranyakashipu?
Prahlad Maharaj.
Prahlad, Prahlad.
Hiranyakashipu is demon, but Prahlad is devotee. Why?
Mother also was a devotee, right, Prabhuji?
Well, that she was favorable, but what happened is at the time of intercourse, Hiranyakashipu was thinking about Krishna Narayan, my enemy Narayan. Instead of getting a demon, he got a Prahlad devotee. That's why. So prepare. So this is how it works behind the scene, and there are some more things also. Like sometimes some may get some curse, some may have some karmic reaction from previous life on progeny. Then also the child will be little different. Like in Vedas, in Bhagavatam, there is a king named Anga, and he married a daughter of death, and she was cursed, and out came Vena, who was very cruel, and Vena was killed by the Brahmanas, and from his thigh came Supreme Personal Godhead incarnation Prithu, because the Brahmanas they churned and they called Prithu. So sometimes curses and our karmic reactions from previous life they also influence. In this case, Anga was pure devotee, but his wife was not a pure devotee, and she was actually cursed. She did something wrong to a sadhu, and she was cursed. So then the son was born cruel, like death. So cruel that in childhood only he used to kill his young children, friends. Can you imagine how cruel? So then he was killed by the Brahmanas by mantra, and then from his dead body they churned his thigh and came out Prithu, With Prithu came out with Prithu came with his wife. Both together came. Okay. So so there are many things, but what just like there may be past karmas. Now we cannot really change them, but the present thing we can change, right? So present thing we will follow the Garbhadan Sanskar. And Prabhupada said to chant 50 rounds of Hare Krishna Mahamantra minimum, both husband wife. But sometimes if say if wife is not devotee or husband is not devotee, then in that case do your duty as a devotee. You do your duty. So does that help in you answering the question? Answering your question, I went a little
Yes, Prabhuji.
yeah.
Yes, Prabhuji.
So it is little
Thanks.
complex, but still we have to do our duty, and then whatever happens, right? Children are always a surprise gift. We should pray to Krishna. That is very important. We should pray to Krishna, serve the deities, serve the devotees, and it helps. Over the time, it helps. Okay, okay. So we are. Let's